Hello, everybody, and welcome back to 50 Shades of Tay. My guest today is a writer, director, and author of the brand new book, 15 Years of Blumhouse Horror's New Wave. I am so excited to welcome Dave Schilling. Dave, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for asking. How are you?
Oh, good. Staying dry. It is pouring rain where I am right now. It's pouring where you are too.
Yes, I'm in Los Angeles as
Oh,
well,
yeah.
and it's quite rainy today, which is great for the spooky season, right? You want kind of
Yes.
atmospheric and gray skies for the scares to come.
Yes, perfect weather to watch a horror movie. And speaking of horror movies, we are here today to talk about your brand new book, celebrating 15 years of Blumhouse. First of all, can you believe that it's been 15 years already?
I can't. Time goes by way too fast, and the 15 years that have gone by since Blumhouse really kicked off have been, exciting for me personally as a lover of horror, and obviously exciting for the company because we had so much to talk about, right? Like in that book, we had to figure out, what movies are we going to actually feature, and there's so
Mhm.
many that I wish we could have talked about, but we got the big ones certainly.
Yeah, there are so many incredible films discussed in your book. If you had to live in one of Blumhouse's films and survive to the end, which film do you think you could survive in?
Well, definitely not pick Get Out for obvious reasons. Though I guess I would live just with the, brain problems. Boy, let's say Halloween because I could just move out of Haddonfield.
All right, all right. I
Just
think I could
don't live
survive.
there. Simple. Just don't live in that town. It's not a
Yeah.
good place to be.
I think I could survive Megan. I feel like once she met me, she and I would get along very well, and she could teach me some of her dance moves, and we would, yeah, get along very well.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's an easy one.
Well, how did the idea for this book come together?
That's a great question. It was really a collaborative effort. Blumhouse had this 15th anniversary coming up. They wanted to celebrate it. The publisher was really interested in doing something with them, and I was brought in to be the one to bring it all together, to make it a thing. That was in, I want to say, July of last year,
Oh,
and
wow.
we finished the manuscript in October. So it was a very quick turnaround, the actual writing of it, right? It was
Mhm.
a few months versus the year that it took from then to have it come to bookstores.
Mhm.
So much goes into making a book that I really just didn't know because this is my first one, right? And so I didn't know all of the really incredible work that was going to go into the design, into the marketing, into all of the things that are required to make, a top shelf A plus book.
Mhm. And one of the standout things about it when you look at it on a bookshelf is how gorgeous the cover art is. What was your reaction when you saw it for the first time?
Well, the first time I saw it, I thought, oh no, did I get hot sauce on this book? Have I already spilled something on there? Because there's like little blood splatter things on there that are not real blood,
Hmm.
as far as I know. Don't quote me on that. But I'm pretty sure it's not. But it's just, yeah, it feels like almost picking up a file from a forensic department at a police station. It has that tactile kind of feeling, and it was designed to feel like case files, right? Like that you're opening up the secrets of Blumhouse, and there are so many things that we talk about, reveal, get really deeply into.
What was your favorite part when you were making this book?
Interviewing everyone,
Mm.
right? There are interviews from countless filmmakers, actors, producers, that it was like going back to film school, really.
Mhm.
Getting to talk to Scott Derrickson, getting to talk to Mike Flanagan, David Gordon Green, learning so much about the Halloween franchise from Jamie Lee Curtis, who, besides a few people, there's nobody who understands Michael Myers and Halloween and Laurie Strode like Jamie Lee Curtis. It was just such an education. I really enjoyed talking to Lee Wanell, who directed Invisible Man, Wolfman, huge part of the Insidious franchise. He's just such a enthusiastic lover of genre entertainment, genre films. I remember he had a giant Freddy Krueger statue in his office, which I thought was really neat. Yeah, that I think that's by far the most fun, and then also it being the hardest. That's the hardest part, right? Is okay, this person's going to talk to you at this time. It's only for this amount of time. Figuring out what to ask, what not to ask, trying to develop a rapport with all these very successful, famous people is a challenge.
Yeah. So you mentioned some of the people you got to speak with while writing this book, and I'm sure you learned a lot, but what was the most interesting or surprising fact that you learned while writing this book?
The biggest thing is probably either Michael B. Jordan being offered the role, the lead role in Get Out, and not taking it, and then that leads to, of course, Daniel Kaluuya being the lead instead. It's hard to imagine anybody else in that role, and Michael B. Jordan is an incredible actor, fantastic, obviously, in so many things, Fruitvale Station, Black Panther, Sinners, just a remarkable performer. But you know, the movie that we got is pretty darn good too. The other thing is just the sheer number of alternate endings that are out
Oh
there that
yeah.
we talk about. So much of the Blumhouse process, and this is true of a lot of film production companies, studios, is the test screening process.
Mhm.
Um, Showing the movie to an audience and getting their gut reaction to what they've just seen. And sometimes, that reaction is surprising. And in the case of Happy Death Day,
Mhm.
there's a totally different, much more downbeat, bleak ending that I won't spoil for you. You have to buy the book if you want to know what the original ending was going to be. But it didn't test as well as they wanted it to, and they went back and they reconceptualized how that movie was going to end, and it was a huge success because of that. It was people loved it, loved it, loved it. Oh, I don't know if I really like this ending. I feel like you're torturing her. She's done so much. We like Tree, the character, so much. We want to see her succeed. And so that happy ending comes after the test screening process. Get Out also famously has an alternate ending
Mhm.
where he's arrested, goes to prison. It's just a bleak, sad ending, and that didn't test super well. And so they went back and they reshot it. The whole thing with the TSA car was a process to figure out: do TSA agents have cars? Do they look like police cars? Can we get one? Uh, that's a pretty cool thing to know that one, the process works sometimes, and two, it works with the filmmaker's intention behind it. Because
Mhm.
sometimes, a movie doesn't test well and it gets taken out of the filmmaker's hands and then reconceptualized without their input, or with their input being discarded.
Yeah.
Blumhouse doesn't do that, right? This is a very filmmaker forward company that really values the creative process and values creative people. And so it's just great to see, the filmmakers all kind of lining up to say the audience is right. The audience was right. I was maybe wrong or didn't see the way it should have been. And there's a lot of humility, but also a lot of trust between the filmmakers and the company, Blumhouse.
Mhm. No, that's so great to hear because so many of my favorite horror films are from Blumhouse. And that brings me to my next question. This is like an impossible question to answer, but out of all of their horror films, do you have a favorite?
Oh boy, that's a hard one. Probably Get Out is
Mhm.
the movie that I revisit the most. I think The Purge is actually really fantastic. I know some people are like, well, there's, all these sequels and the sequels improved on the premise and everything, but it's such a simple concept. The
Mhm.
idea of the one day out of the year where you can do whatever you want, and to make it a tight kind of home invasion movie
Yeah.
versus the big kind of spectacles that they became later is really cool. They're all great. All the purges are great, but I love that first one very much.
Yeah, no, it's such a good idea. We're right around the corner from the Black Phone 2 coming out. And then not shortly or not too far out after that is going to be Five Nights at Freddy's 2, which I'm
Mhm.
so excited for. Out of all the upcoming Blumhouse movies that have been announced, which one are you looking forward to the most?
Oh, gotta be Black Phone too, just because I thought the first one was so great,
Yeah.
and the concept of following these kids as they get older, and they're these movies are coming of age movies, right? Black Phone is really about a young boy learning to believe in himself
Mhm.
and learning to come to grips with some of the trauma that he's experienced in his life, his alcoholic father, his dead mother, all of these kind of terrible things, him getting bullied at school. Um, he comes of age through this process of defeating the grabber and learning from, each of those experiences with the ghosts and how to fail and then succeed. And all of his failures as he's trying to escape the house lead to his escape. And that's kind of a microcosm of life, right? As you learn from your mistakes, and the mistakes that you make are the building blocks of your success as you move on in your life, no matter what your field of work is, what you do, who you are. It's failure that breeds success. And I think Scott Derrickson, really felt that.
Mhm.
And you can look back at Sinister, his film, his first Blumhouse film that came into time after he had done Day the Earth Stood Still. Wasn't a huge success, very expensive movie. That was kind of his coming out party as a big studio director, right? Didn't do well. What are you going to do? How do you follow up from something that didn't work? Well, he goes to Blumhouse. They give him, 1.5 million or something, a small budget, and makes the most of that and takes what he learned from the studio experience and applies it to this smaller movie that is more personal for him. It's also kind of about failure and what you do when you fail. And I think every creative person goes through that, and there's a lot of that in Scott's work. I think even Doctor Strange, there's an element of Stephen Strange's regrets and feelings of failure. The loss of his hands is a massive impediment to him doing his job, but that also leads him to unlock this supernatural ability that he has. And so there's through lines in all of Scott's work, I think, thematically. And so I'm excited to see how he applies that to a sequel to a movie that felt like it didn't need a sequel.
Yeah.
And he says in the book, it has to be a good idea. Sinister 2, maybe we didn't have a great concept of what it should be. But, what I know about Black Phone 2 leads me to believe that this is meant to be, that there is an idea there and it's an exciting idea. And I'm excited to see how he executes on that idea.
Yeah, I can't wait. I have my tickets to see it this Thursday at 2 p.m. So I'm
Excellent.
literally counting down the hours to see Black Phone 2. So excited
Love
for
it.
it. One of my favorite things, especially with Black Phone and Five Nights at Freddy's, obviously Halloween is horror nights, and how we get to see Universal Studios bring some of these Blumhouse movies into the real world for us to experience. Have you had a chance to go to horror nights since you're in LA?
You know, I gotta say, even though I love horror movies, I am a fraidy cat when it comes to like actual experiences. I don't know if I want people jumping out at me while I'm trying to eat a turkey leg, but it's very popular. I've been to the Fan Fest nights at
Oh,
Universal where
nice.
they did the Star Trek thing and they did something for One Piece and Back to the Future and all of that. And that was great. I just don't know if I want, Leatherface coming at me with a chainsaw in real life.
Oh my gosh. Well, if you do go, I highly recommend the Five Nights at Freddy's Maze. It is incredible because they collaborated, just like in the movie, with the Jim Henson Studio to make the puppets and the animatronics for the maze. So I know it's a little scary, but I would say, as a fan of these films, it's so cool to get to see up close, like these characters that you see in the movies. It's such a cool experience.
Well, that's one of the great things about Five Nights at Freddy's, and something that I talked to the Henson people about is the tactile nature of these monsters, right? It's or these creatures. Monsters is not how people love to describe it,
Uh-huh.
right? In that franchise, because while they are terrifying, they do have the spirits of these horribly murdered and abused children, and they are innocents in a lot of ways, and they don't realize what they're doing, and they're just trying to survive. So I retract the use of the word monster.
Hmm.
But the creatures, the animatronics, like the fact that they're real, it could have been, a CGI creation, somebody in a green suit with dots on their face.
Yeah.
That's not how they did it. And you'll hear stories in the book about sometimes it didn't work.
Mhm.
Sometimes they needed to tweak things. It was too warm or too cold, whatever, right? Like there were issues around it. It would be easier and maybe even cheaper to do it with CGI, but it was really important to the creative team on that movie that they be real, puppets that could be interacted with, and that tactile quality, you can feel it when you watch the movie.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like it would be a completely different movie if it was CGI. So I'm so thankful that they worked, especially with the Henson Company, because you know
Nobody
that
does
when
it
you
better than them, truly.
100%. So we're celebrating 15 years of Blumhouse, but I want to look forward to the future. Where do you see or where do you hope to see Blumhouse in another 15 years when they celebrate their 30th anniversary?
Well, I hope and I expect and I assume that they will continue being supporters of creative people.
Mhm.
Right? That's part of the ethos of Blumhouse and Jason Blum's, worldview on the industry is support artists, support creative people, give them the chance to make great films. And they're always looking for new filmmakers, they're always looking for new people to work with, new voices to amplify. And I hope they continue to do that, and I'm sure they will because it's just part of the DNA of the company.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And it's so cool to see all the people they're bringing in, all the IPs, both original and people that they're bringing in and adapting their story work. Just so incredible to see and looking forward to see what Blumhouse does next. But Dave, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your day to join me. If people want to follow you and keep up with all your other upcoming projects, where would be a good place for people to follow you?
Oh, you can follow me on Instagram at DW Schilling. That is my Instagram. I am posting all the time about stuff that's going on. Currently talking a lot about this book. But yeah, I appreciate anybody who cares enough to buy the book, anybody who cares enough about the work to support it, and anybody who's already bought it. I really thank them for that. And thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, well, thank you for joining me. And yes, I've been telling anyone that I come in contact with to get this book. If you're a fan of horror, if you're a fan of movies, Blumhouse, this is the perfect book. And yeah, especially like we just mentioned, it's pouring rain. Today is the perfect day to cuddle up with this book and read all about your favorite films and how they were made. Thank you so much,
100%.
Dave.
Thank
Have a great
you.
rest of your day.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.